You're being robbed. Right now. Not your wallet. Your time. The only resource you can't earn back, can't buy more of, and can't recover once it's gone. Here's the deal you accepted, probably without even thinking about it. You give a corporation the best 40 years of your life. Your 20s, when you have energy but no money. Your 30s and 40s, when you have energy and finally some money but no time. Your 50s, when your knees hurt and your back aches, but you keep grinding because the retirement account isn't where it needs to be yet. And in exchange for those 40 years, you get a promise. A deferred payment plan. Work now, live later. Retire at 65. Collect your pension or draw down your 401k. And finally, enjoy life. Travel, relax, do all the things you postponed. Except here's what nobody tells you. By 65, statistically, you're dealing with health issues. Arthritis, heart problems, diabetes, maybe cancer if you're unlucky. That trip to Patagonia you dreamed about. Your knees won't make the hike. That cross-country motorcycle ride. Your doctor says no. The life you deferred isn't waiting for you. It expired while you were working. And that's assuming you even make it to 65. The average retirement lasts 15 years. 15 years of freedom in exchange for 40 years of labor. And those 15 years aren't your prime. They're your decline. But the real scam isn't even the timeline. It's that the system was designed from the very beginning to never pay out. Because when retirement was invented in the 1880s, the retirement age was set at 70. And the average life expectancy? 47. You were supposed to die before you collected. The math hasn't changed. You're just playing it anyway, betting your entire life that the payout will be worth it. It won't. Let's talk about Otto von Bismarck. 1889. Germany. The Iron Chancellor. The guy who unified Germany, who pioneered social welfare, who invented the modern retirement system. Here's how it happened. Bismarck needed to quiet down socialist movements. Workers were getting restless. Unions were forming. Something had to give. So Bismarck made a deal. Work your entire life for the state and for industry, and at age 70, you'll receive a pension. It's guaranteed income for the rest of your days. Sounds generous. Revolutionary even. Except here's the part they don't teach in history class. In 1889 Germany, the average life expectancy was 47. Most workers never saw 70. They died in factories, in mines, in fields, decades before they could collect a single pension payment. The system wasn't designed to reward loyalty. It was designed to extract maximum labor while paying out minimum benefits. It was a bet against the worker's lifespan. The state won that bet overwhelmingly. Fast forward to today. The retirement age in most developed countries is 65. Life expectancy has climbed to 78, 80, 82, depending where you are. So now people actually collect. But inflation has gutted the value. Pensions are underfunded or non-existent. 401 kiloseconds depend on market performance, which means a crash in your 60s wipes out decades of savings. And Social Security? It's running out. Everyone knows it. Nobody's fixing it. You're still playing a game invented to make you lose. The only difference is now you live long enough to realize you've been scammed. But let's go further back. Before retirement, before the Industrial Revolution, before the 40-hour workweek. Let's talk about a medieval peasant. Here's what historians have documented. Medieval peasants worked hard during planting and harvest season. It's brutal physical labor. But the rest of the year, they worked far less than you do. Estimated annual working hours for a medieval peasant, 1,400 to 1,600 hours per year. That's about 30 hours a week, averaged across the year. Modern full-time work, 40 hours officially, but if you're salaried, if you're checking emails after hours, if you're on call, if you're grinding, you're working 50, 60 hours a week. That's 2,600 to 3,100 hours per year. You're working almost twice as much as a feudal peasant. And medieval peasants had more holidays, religious festivals, saints' days, harvest celebrations, about 150 to 180 days off per year. You get 10 to 15 vacation days if you're lucky, and even then, you're answering Slack messages from the beach. The feudal peasant had more free time, more community, and actually owned their labor output, even if they paid a lord a portion. You own nothing. Your time belongs to your employer. Your output belongs to shareholders. And your reward is a broken promise 40 years from now. Modernity didn't free you. It just made the chains invisible. So what does the system tell you when you figure out retirement is a scam? Save more. Invest aggressively. Max out your 401k. Put money in index funds. Compound interest will save you. Except inflation is running at 6% to 8% depending on what you're measuring, and your investment returns are maybe 7% in a good year. You're treading water. And if the market crashes when you're 62, you lose a decade of gains and have to work until 70 anyway. Start a side hustle. Create passive income. Sure. So now you're working 60 hours at your main job and another 20 hours on your side hustle. Monetizing every spare moment of your life, you're not building freedom. You're building a second job that pays worse than the first. Retire early with FIRE. Financial independence, retire early. The plan is simple. Live extremely frugally for 15 years. Save 70% of your income. Invest it all. Then retire at 40 or 45 and live off 4% withdrawal rates forever. Great in theory, except living on 30% of your income for 15 years means you're sacrificing your 30s, the best years of your life, to hoard money for your 40s. You're still deferring life. You're just deferring it to 45 instead of 65. And you're doing it in an expensive city because that's where the high income is, so your 30% is still barely enough to survive. You're optimizing the prison, you're not escaping it. The real problem isn't that you're not saving enough or investing smart enough. It's that the entire model is broken. You're trying to buy time freedom with money in an economic system designed to make time freedom impossibly expensive. The actual escape isn't financial optimization. It's geographic arbitrage. And it's available right now. Here's the framework they don't want you to know about. It's called time arbitrage. Instead of working 40 years to buy 15 years of retirement, you work part-time now and retire in stages throughout your life. Mini retirements, 6 months on, 6 months off. Or work 20 hours a week instead of 60 and live on less forever. The only reason this sounds impossible is because you're doing the math in New York or London prices. Do the math in Southern Europe or the Balkans, and everything changes. Let's build this. Real numbers. Right now. Step 1. Buy time by eliminating your biggest expense. Housing. A small stone house in rural Albania, northern Greece, or inland Portugal costs 15,000 euros to 30,000 euros. Cash purchase. No mortgage, no rent. Let's say 25,000 euros. You own it. Forever. Property taxes are maybe 150 euros per year. Step 2. Cut your monthly burn rate to nearly nothing. No rent. No mortgage. Utilities in rural Europe run 50 euros to 80 euros per month if you're conservative. Add internet, 25 euros. Food from local markets, cooking at home, maybe 250 euros per month. Health insurance in the EU for expats, about 100 euros to 150 euros per month. Total monthly cost, 500 euros to 600 euros. Let's call it 600 euros to be safe. That's $650 a month. Step 3. Generate 600 euros per month remotely. You don't need a full-time job. You don't need to work 60 hours. You need 15 to 20 hours per week of freelance work. Writing, design, consulting, coding, tutoring, virtual assistants, anything you can do remotely. At $40 per hour, which is mid-tier freelance rates, 20 hours a week is $800 a week. That's $3,200 a month. Far more than your 600 euros burn rate. You're covering expenses and saving surplus, working half-time. Step 4. Take mini retirements. Work 6 months. Save the surplus. Take 3 months completely off. Travel, right? Build things, rest, then work another 6 months. Repeat your tiring 3 months out of every 9. That's 33% of your life in retirement mode. It's not at 65. Now, in your 30s, in your 40s. Or go even further. Work 20 hours a week year-round. It's half a normal job. The other 20 hours, that's your time. For projects. For hobbies. For doing absolutely nothing, if that's what you want. This isn't theoretical. People are doing this right now. Former marketers working 10 hours a week from Portuguese villages. Ex-accountants consulting part-time from Greek islands. Developers coding 20 hours a week from Albanian coastal towns and spending the rest of the time hiking or learning languages or just sitting in cafes. The difference between this and the FIRE movement is you're not deferring life. You're living it now with less money, but more time. And time, unlike money, compounds in reverse. The younger you are when you reclaim it, the more valuable it is. Let's compare paths. Path 1, the traditional model. Work 60 hours a week until 65 in an expensive city. Save for 40 years. Retire exhausted and half broken. Get 15 years of freedom if you're lucky. Path 2, the arbitrage model. Save $30,000 working intensely for 2 years. Buy a house in the Balkans or rural Iberia. Work 20 hours a week remotely. Live on $650 a month. Retire in rolling cycles starting at 35 and continuing indefinitely. Path 1 gives you 15 years of freedom at the end. Path 2 gives you 50% of your time back, permanently, starting decades earlier. The math is absurd, and yet most people will choose Path 1 because it's the default, because it's what everyone else is doing, because the idea of living in rural Albania sounds too weird, too extreme, too different. But weird is relative. It's actually weird as spending 40 years in a cubicle so you can have freedom when you're 70. Here's the choice you actually have. You can keep trading time for money in a system designed to pay you the least amount of time possible for the maximum amount of work. You can defer your life until 65 and hope you're healthy enough to enjoy it. Or you can realize that time is the only non-renewable resource you have, and you're letting it get stolen 40 hours at a time every single week for decades. The retirement lie isn't that you won't get paid. Some of you will. The lie is that the payment will be worth the cost. 40 years of your life in exchange for 15 years of freedom isn't a good deal. It's a scam with a government stamp of approval. But you can break the trade. Not by working harder, not by saving more, by changing the cost structure of your life so completely that you don't need 40 years of income to survive. This starts with research. Look at property prices in rural Portugal, Albania, Bulgaria, Greece, North Macedonia. See what 20,000 euros actually buys. Join expat forums. Talk to people who've already done this. Learn what 20 hours a week of remote income actually looks like. Then run your own numbers. How much are you spending every month to live in your current city? How much of that is just rent? What would your life cost if housing was free and food was 8 euros per day? That's the gap. That's how much time you're selling unnecessarily. Can't buy time. But you can stop selling it cheap. You can take it back. Right now, not at 65, not when you're too old to use it, while you still have energy, health, and decades ahead of you. Your grandparents worked their whole lives for a retirement that lasted 15 years. You don't have to. If this rewired how you think about time, subscribe. I'm building a library for people who refuse to defer their lives. Stop working for retirement. Start retiring now.